And our first stop happens to be in South Africa. Let's see what's really going on in South Africa. That's SA. And let's find out what is new. Well, Sowetan is the paper. The front page. SAFA considers dumping SABC for super sport. Well, that's got to do with sports and talking about the player there. You can also see a picture there concerning celebration. We'll leave that story and go to the one at the bottom. Harrowing tale by SA teacher. My escape from crazy Sudan war. Finally, someone comes up to speak about her experience being an African, especially from Southern Africa. Dreyer tells how a Sudanese driver rescued her and other South Africans who were trapped in a Khartoum hotel. Bus carrying group survived heavy gunfire after getting lost in the capital before reaching safety. Page 2. You might want to read up about that and get the insight into how this experience would actually impact on the lives of those who escaped or the escapee. Most importantly, also would tell a tale that Africans need to know about the Northern African state. Well, let's also take a look at another one. This happens to be just one last story. It says any returns with spring summer collection. That's got to do with fashion, by the way, on a Tuesday morning. Well, Sowetan not fully packed, but that's all it's got.
All right, let's now move to the east of the continent on the Daily Nation in Kenya this morning. And once again, you know, that story is still making headlines. It's probably should be one of the most shocking stories on the continent at this point. It says Shakahola horror deaths jump to 73. Massacre. Only DNA tests will reveal the identity of victims, says Inspector General Kume. It's shocking. Doomsday cult. Police exhumed another 26 bodies from multiple graves in Pastor Paul Mackenzie's village farm in Kilifi yesterday, taking the total to 65, with 8 other church members who had been rescued succumbing in the hospital. Wow. But the search for bodies is not yet over. Amid reports, controversial pastor had warned of consequences. And you can find and read more of this on pages 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the Daily Nation. There's no part of the story that's just not shocking. You know, and how you know they also got buried. You know, so after starving themselves to death, who was burying them? And so it's obviously just like Joe said earlier. There's a lot of people that would answer questions here. And I think I saw the report yesterday where someone said that there are people who had been rescued or had been, found and still refused to eat, even when they had been rescued from, whatever it is that they were trying to do to themselves. Anyway, devolution. Governors issue 14-day notice over cash crisis. Heartbreak for hustlers as Ruto walks back on NHIF promise. And we can also find here on the Daily Nation this morning, terrorist President Ruto likens Mackenzie's activities to those of terrorists who use religion to radicalize, and he is very right. There's no difference between this level of radicalization and suicide from those who blow up themselves in the name of religion, and kill others in the process. Well, these are big stories in the Daily Nation. We'll probably leave it here and come back to this later. But of course, let's move from the Daily Nation now to the western part of the continent on the Daily Trust in Nigeria.
Anyway, let's move on to the Daily Trust this morning. I'm still trying to think of the entire... just on that front page, you just concluded, the father is saying that he's suspecting that 3 of his sons are amongst the dead. Quite sad.
Who do you blame?
Quite sad.
Who do you blame for? So who do you blame if a child goes to this extent for their religion? Do you blame the parents?
No. It depends. The age of the child. It depends on the age. If that child is an adult and can make decisions for himself, we're humans. At certain point in our lives, we need to make our own choices. It's free will. But if that child is still a toddler, still not a teenager, then I think I'll blame the parents, because it's high time you really sit down. Sometimes, trust me, you might have seen your son emaciate. He might have been losing a lot of weight. He might have been looking somehow, because radicalization doesn't just come from, especially this type of radicalization where you're being told, oh, don't eat, you would meet the Christ when you die, and so on. It has to do with a lot of psychological changes from the head. You'd see the way your child behaves. You'd be able to tell, listen, there's something wrong. This child is not coordinated. And then possibly that's where the questions start coming. If I were the one, I would even sleep with him.
All right. All right, let's move to the Daily Trust this morning and see what we can find this morning on the Daily Trust newspapers. It says there, Nigerian airlines seek more slots. Saudi carrier takes 40%. And that's of course, with regards to aviation. I mean, it's come with a lot of criticism, with the, of course, the conversations concerning rescuing Nigerians from Sudan and whatnot. And of course, but this particular story is concerning the 2023 Hajj. Nigerian airlines seek more slots. Saudi carrier takes 40%. There's still no official Nigerian airline, national carrier to be precise. 6 domestic airlines share 51 billion naira. Saudi gets 34 billion naira. We must respect bilateral pacts, say experts. Also, Benue man buried alive over witchcraft. Election Tribunal, Fallon or others back live broadcasts. And also 2 Chibok girls escaped from Boko Haram captivity. Interesting. 70% of NNPC's AKK gas pipeline delivered. Project not abandoned, says Kiari. Of course, the president-elect, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, returned yesterday, and he says, Tinubu returns, says, I am ready for task ahead. And fresh intrigues as Northwest insist on Senate presidency. These are the big stories on the Daily Trust newspapers.
The one that shocks me is Benue man buried alive over witchcraft.
Still, it's not very different from, the rest of the, religious radicalization. It comes in different forms. It's either you are the perpetrator or you're the victim. On the Guardian newspapers, which comes up next, it says, International Day, Nigerians spend 2.04 trillion naira yearly on malaria prevention and treatment. Of course, by the way, today's International Day of Malaria, I think, or Malaria Day, I beg your pardon. Afenifere tackles Buhari over resurgence of terrorism and plea for forgiveness. Pharmacists kick over exclusion from 40% pay rise for workers as they make demands. We can also find here worries over HND, BSc bill as Buhari's exit nears, I beg your pardon. And also, after 34 days rest overseas, Tinubu affirms readiness for task ahead. Sudan crisis, airline offers free flight as Northern Coalition condemns delay in evacuation. I have a lot to say with that, but we'll skip, my thoughts. And finally, 161,272 financial threads blocked in Nigeria last year. These are the major stories that we can find on the Guardian newspapers this morning. And of course, we have more of these stories coming your way in the second half of Breakfast Central. But for now, let's go on a short break. When we come back, we can move straight into our top stories this morning. Very interesting conversations coming your way from across the continent.